Hey class, so I'm going to get you all started on the Gherkin project by just setting up the conceptual mass and kind of reviewing a couple of the items that I'd like you to hit with your divide surface and the current panel pattern-based families. So open up a new project using our template, and then going off of the files that I uploaded to Canvas, you can insert whichever of the reference images that you feel will help you the most. I'm going to use I believe it's a section. Maybe it's an elevation. But I'm just going to ground it real quick, and then tells me the total height is 180 meters. So I'm going to scale this up. And you can actually in Revit type in M and it will register it as meters. So if you type in 180 M, it will scale it up 180 meters. Now, I'm not going to do this right now because I just want to go over how to create the mass, but I expect you guys to match the floor levels, add all the floor levels in here, and then eventually cut the mass floors in and associate floors to those. But for right now, I'm gonna just create a in-place mass. So massing in site, in-place mass, call it whatever you want, Gherkin. All right, and then if we go to level 1, so what I want to do, so you can build the conceptual mass in a couple different ways. You could, if you want, you could make a series of concentric rings that match the changing diameter as it goes up, and then basically select all those rings, hit create form, and it will loft all those rings together. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to create a profile along the majority of the facade, and then create basically a center line and revolve the profile around the center of the Gherkin, since it is symmetrical. And to do that, what I'm going to do, and we've gone over this before, is create a reference plane to draw on. So I'm going to go up here at the top under create, hit that plane button, and then just draw an arbitrary horizontal line. I'm going to click to name and call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it Gherkin center line. Remember, you have to name these in order for them to show up. If you just draw them, they'll just be there, but they won't populate in any of the drop downs when you go to draw. So if I go back to north, or your north view, and I go to set work plane up at the top, do the drop down, it will be at the bottom under reference plane, Gherkin center line, hit OK. And then I'm going to go up the top, and you can do it a couple different ways. So since this is built of a couple different curves, you can do it either with true curves. I'll show you the different. So you can either build it this way, do a couple true curves. Now, what I will tell you guys is I don't close this off. The reason I don't close this off, I don't know if you can tell from this very blurry image, but the diagrid that structures the Gherkin, it comes up and then it forms a ring at the top. It does not go all the way up because you have essentially, I don't know, probably 30 to 40 different structural bays all coming together at once, and you're just going to get a massive barrage of different members all coming into the same point. So what they do is they create a concentric ring, and they tie the structure all back to that. And then there's specialty structural connections at the top. But especially with the conceptual mass, When we go to divide the surface into these diamond patterns, or the rhomboid patterns as they're called, you can't, if it doesn't have a point to terminate the pattern, it all comes up and it gives you an error. So we want to leave these surfaces open at the top. So I've drawn a rough profile of the building, and what I want to do next is create the center line. So you can, if we wanted to be a little bit more specific about it, we can draw a halfway point and then draw a line up. And then the actual center point, or the center line, doesn't matter how long it is, as long as it's roughly where you want it to be. And then if I go to a 3D view, select both lines, want to select the whole profile, and then the axis point, create form, and then it will give you this pop-up at the bottom. You can either draw a plane. Basically, it's lofting those two curves together to create a plane, singular plane, or it will tell you or show you a nice revolved surface. So click that. Then we can go in and divide the surfaces. Now, as you can see, it basically creates a surface at every individual curve that we drew. Okay, that's fine. It just you have to then select a couple more. There we go, surfaces. If we hit divide surface, so the problem is with that is it creates divide surfaces along all of the different surfaces, so all the half surfaces and along all of the cross sections. Now for certain geometries, that's fine. That's just what's going to have to happen. If you hit rhomboid, or if you hit the triangle, bent or flat, you can surely filter this out real quick. Oh, it's all divided surfaces. You can all change these. But what happens is, here, it'll be much easier to tell at the top, is that they all have different parameters to them, right? So, having the surface divide 12 times vertically down here is much different than, and gives you a much different size panel or structural system when you get closer to the top. So when you have all these different size surfaces, different size divisions, you just have to then adjust your grid along where it's getting cut through, along where it is on the mass. The other way to do it is by creating a spline. Now I know I told you guys to avoid splines at all times, but there are certain times where it is appropriate. So if we went back into the profile and then just drew a spline at a couple points, and then adjusted it, then when we create the mass, it'll only give us fewer surfaces to work with. If this thing will, there we go, adjust for me. All right, then we need to draw our center line. So this time I'm just going to eyeball it from the top. And then if we go to a 3D view, and you can do this in elevation, but I just like to see it in 3D to make sure everything's getting selected. Hit OK. And then that's only given us 2 surfaces that we have to work with. So we'll just hit both surfaces, divide surface, and then select whichever pattern we want. All right. So what I expect you guys to do, it's written up in the assignment, but go ahead, create the conceptual mass. do the mass floors. So add all the levels and add mass floors, associate actual floor elements to those mass floors, and then divide the surface into triangular panels that mimic the glass. So I'm trying to bring up an image right now just to show you guys what I'm talking about. So there's a couple different ways that you can do it. So I will accept just the diamond pattern with the mullion. Now you need to go in, create a custom oh god, now I've forgotten it. Custom panel pattern based family. You can do the diamond because I understand that if you tried to go in and create all the smaller triangular I guess they're both triangles and diamonds. Interesting. If you try to create those small ones, some of your computers, some of your laptops probably can't handle all of those different panels. So I will accept the whole panel. Make sure that you create the panel itself and the mullions and associate different color. And I think I specify which color in the assignment of each component. So one for the panel, one for the mullion. Associate that to the mass. If you want some, I'll say bonus points, you can model the structure, which is essentially all you would do is create the same diamond pattern on the conceptual mass and just create really large mullions that mimic the structure. And you know, add as much detail as you want. If you want to add the banding as a separate color, go right ahead. But yeah, I'm really only looking for the floors, the skin. Let me pull up the assignment. I'm only looking for the skin and pretty much the skin and the floors. And then a series of section perspective. I'll show you guys how to create a section perspective in another video. But just go through, make sure that you hit all of these. I'm asking for specific colors in this assignment, so make sure that you associate materials that have that specific color associated with it. And as always, let me know if you have any questions. Have a good day.